Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News 24/7 Daily Local News Update. I'm your host, Jasmine McTigg, coming to you live from Jersey City, New Jersey. Now, the details at this time. We're keeping an close eye on a nor'easter that is set to impact the tri-state Friday night into Saturday. The cold is already in place, and a reinforcing shot of Arctic air, which includes some light snow, will arrive on Friday, ensuring that an upcoming storm will be a snow event. Lee Goldberg says Thursday will be calm and cold ahead of a major nor'easter that could bring significant snow Friday night into Saturday. The big wild card is the exact track of the storm, which will have a huge ramification for how much snow and wind we'll get. A track further offshore would spare us from the brunt of the storm, while a track closer to the coast could mean a near blizzard conditions over a wide swath of a mid-Atlantic and northeast, and a plowable snowfall looks likely along the I-95 corridor into New York City, with at least several inches of accumulation. In Lee Goldberg's latest snowfall projections, the best chances of blizzard conditions and a foot or more of snow is from eastern Long Island into southeastern parts of New England. At the same time, areas well north and west of New York City is likely to get 3 inches of snow or less and could be completely spared. As there will be a very sharp cutoff in the snowfall total as you see ahead away from the storm. The most difficult area to predict snow totals is New York City and areas immediately surrounding it, which could get anywhere from 3 to 6 inches, and the lower end, or 6 to 12 inches on the higher end. Lee Goldberg says he could even see scenarios where parts of the city could see a big difference in totals depending on the storm's track. But a foot of snow is unlikely at this time. Just to the east, there could be a lot of heavy banding on Long Island, which could see 6 to 12 inches along with the coastal New Jersey. Meanwhile, snow totals will taper off from Connecticut into the Hudson Valley. Beyond the snow, the eastern end of Long Island could see 50 miles per hour gusts of wind with a potential for moderate coastal floodings. On to the next story of the hour. Mayor Lori Lightfoot wiped away tears Wednesday while talking about charges and circumstances surrounding the shooting that killed 8-year-old Melissa Ortega in Little Village this past weekend. Many at the news conference on the charges were calling for a renewed effort to combat violence involving children. It was also a rare appearance in the same room of Mayor Lightfoot, Police Superintendent David Brown, and Cook County State Attorney Kim Fox. As PBS2 political investigator Diana Kozlov reported, the question now is whether this means the officials have found common grounds in a fight against crime, given recent rancor with Lightfoot and Brown on one side and Fox on the other. Melissa's murder definitely galvanized the superintendent, mayor, and state attorney to show the public they are committed to fighting crime. They said it is a continuation of cooperation behind the scenes. This is an opportunity for us to demonstrate how we work behind the scenes publicly, Lightfoot said. I was quite honestly mortified by what happened yesterday, and particularly because the mayor, as a former prosecutor, knows that what she did yesterday was inappropriate, Fox said in October, noting that the officials have lobbed criticism at one another over the past several months. Kozlov asked at Wednesday's news conference what the United Front now signifies. On to the next story of the hour. Two students were stabbed during a fight at Banneker High School Wednesday morning. Fulton County Schools has confirmed. Two, a Fulton County school spokesman said two students have non-life-threatening injuries after a fight involving a stabbing on campus around 9 a.m. Fulton County School Police initiated a lockdown while school officials investigated. 3 students were taken into custody. None of the students involved in this fight have been identified. The district did not say what object was used in the stabbing. Video sent to Channel 2 Action News shows someone being wheeled out of the high school on a stretcher. Was at a high school Wednesday afternoon where students described the chaos and violence fight. Jerome Jones says there was a big commotion in the hallway around 9 a.m. They said they were going to shoot or something, Jones said. Students all rushed from the door where they saw blood. I saw a lot of blood, Malik Warre said. There was like trails of blood on the wall, on the floor. My class was praying for the person who got stabbed. Police told Reagan that the students who were stabbed have non-life-threatening injuries. Banneker's principal, Jason Stamper, wrote in a statement to parents in part, the senseless act of violence that occurred today is not who we are at Banneker High School. Some students made a poor choice today, and because of it, our students and our school community have been harmed. Now on to the next story of the hour. 2 former leaders of an African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church in California are facing federal charges after authorities allege they defrauded churches across the state out of $14 million. Staccato Powell, 62, of Wake Forest, North Carolina, and Sheila Quintana, 67, of Vallejo, each face 2 counts of wire fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and mail fraud, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office from North District of California. Powell also faces 1 count of mail fraud. Authorities allege the 2 took control of congregations' properties and used them to secure loans to benefit themselves in a scheme that ran from around October 2016 to late July 2021, according to the indictment, which was filed on January 6 and unsealed Tuesday, Powell and Quintana served as officers of Western Episcopal District Incorporated, which they formed in 2016 after Powell was selected to be bishop overseeing the church's Western District, prosecutors said. The indictment alleges that Powell and Quintana conspired to defraud AME Zion Church congregations in Oakland, San Jose, Palo Alto, and Los Angeles by redeeding the local congregation properties in the name of WED Incorporated. Prosecutors said court documents described the conspiracy as a campaign of pressure and misinformation targeting pastors who served at the pleasure of Powell. Before Powell and Quintana's action, the congregation had little to no mortgage debt, prosecutors said. The pair used false statements, omitted information, and fake documents to manufacture evidence that local congregations agree to the new mortgages. Some church members filed complaints with AME Zion Church leaders, the court documents said. And now a short break from the Daily English News of Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News 24/7 Daily Local News Updates. And now the story at this hour. A woman who grew up in Miami and went to Palmetto Senior High School could be in the runnings to becoming the nation's next Supreme Court justice. News of Justice Stephen Breyer's expected retirement from the Supreme Court at the end of its current term has reignited questions of who will succeed him. Biden has repeatedly pledged that if given the chance to fill a vacancy on the Supreme Court, he would nominate the first Black woman. Jackson, 51, who was born in D.C., was one of President Joe Biden's first picks for federal judiciary as president and is considered to be the frontrunner for the Supreme Court. The president selected Jackson to replace Attorney General Merrick Garland on the influential U.S. Court of Appeals for District of Columbia Circuit, considered to be the nation's second most powerful court in March of 2021. And she was confirmed by the Senate in June. 3 Republicans, Susan Collins of Maine, Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska voted with all 50 Democrats to confirm Jackson. Before joining the D.C. Circuit, Jackson was a U.S. District Judge in the District of Columbia and Vice Chair of the U.S. Sentencing Commission. At her confirmation hearing to the Federal District Court, Jackson was introduced by then Congressman Paul Ryan, a Republican from Wisconsin, who would go on to serve as the House Speaker before retiring in 2018. Ryan and Jackson are related by marriage. Our politics may differ, but my praise of Ketanji intellect, for her character, for her integrity, it is unequivocal. She is an amazing person, Ryan told the Senate Judiciary Committee in 2012. A graduate of Harvard Law School, she clerked for Breyer on the Supreme Court from 1999 to 2000. On to our next story of the hour. The attorney of 26-year-old Ryan Smith, who led police on a manhunt, was being sought for questioning in his father's death, said his main concern is his client's mental health. His family and friends all know this isn't Ryan Smith we know, attorney Ralph Manganiello said. We are all concerned about his mental health and want him to get some help. The bizarre chain of events started over the weekend when Smith's mother called police saying her son left and went looking for guns, talking about killing himself. A couple of hours later, Smith was arrested, charged with robbing two people, stabbing a Houston police canine, and evading arrest. A family member paid his $50,000 bond. I can't comment on that other than say his family loves him, cares about him, and was just trying to help him at the time. Mangi Mangielio said. Once Smith found out, he went to stay at his father's house in a Memorial area, according to police. Family members were concerned when they did not hear from him, so they checked the home on Monday. So did police, but nothing was found. Police spotted Smith in his father's pickup truck nearby with the lights on. That's when he drove off and led officers on a chase. According to police, he ditched the truck and took off on foot near Memorial Park. Meanwhile, police searched the house in Memorial area a second time early Tuesday and found his father's body in the garage. Several hours later, a manhunt for Smith ended when he was found walking on the highway of 159 in Austin County and arrested. Smith was held without bond on his charges and brought in for questioning about his father. Houston police are waiting for autopsy until any further charges. He has rights. On to the next story of the hour. Melrose police are searching for a man who stabbed a 19-year-old woman in the neck during a home invasion Wednesday morning, according to a statement by Chief Michael Lyle. Police arrived at the home on Linden Street around 2:50 a.m. Investigators say a man entered the home and demanded items from a 19-year-old woman, and a physical confrontation ensued. The woman received a knife wound to her neck and was taken to an area hospital for treatment, according to police. Her father, William Westgate, told 7 News he woke up to his daughter's screams. I raced down and I get to the bottom of the stairs, and my daughter was halfway down the street chasing somebody saying he got my pocketbook. He told the television station. Moments later, they realized she's been stabbed, he told 7 News. We haven't processed it yet, he told the television station. How can you process something like that? There's a stranger that just walks into your house and holds a knife over your daughter. How can you process that? I just can't. Police say the same man may also be responsible for an attempt home and car break-in in the area on Tuesday night and early Wednesday morning. And a pair of car thefts, including one in which the keyless start key fob was left inside the vehicle. In each instances where break-in attempts were successful, police say that the entry door were left unlocked. I cannot stress enough how significant a step the simple act of locking your home and vehicle doors can be in preventing you from becoming a victim of a crime, Lyle said. I urge all residents to remember to lock their homes and vehicles. On to the next story. Culinary Union guest rooms attendants will hold a rally on Thursday at 5:30 p.m. in front of Southern Nevada's Health District to ask that the agencies investigate potential violations of requirements of the Adolfo Fernandez Bill of 2020 or Senate Bill 4 regarding daily room cleaning. The bill was first and is still the only state law in the United States to require comprehensive measures to protect hospitality employees from COVID-19. Some of its provisions include the requirements for the hotel in Clark County and Washoe guests and prohibits guests from advising or incentivizing guests to decline delay housekeeping service. The union has sent statements to the SNHD and is asking for the investigation of these violations by Caesars Entertainment International Properties, Bally's Las Vegas, and Flamingo Las Vegas. The Culinary Union said it had heard from the lack of daily cleaning of occupied hotel rooms while processing members' grievances regarding work conditions and other issues. The protest will be taking place at 280 S South on Decatur Boulevard. The Culinary Union has been serving Nevada for 87 years. Its members working as guest rooms, attendants, cocktails and food servers, porters, bellmen, cooks, bartenders, and laundry and kitchen workers. And now, a short break from the daily English news of Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News 24/7 Daily Local News Update. Now, the story of the hour. Early in the pandemic, Ryan Wilson was careful to take precautions, wearing a mask and not really socializing, doing more of his shopping online. The 38-year-old father and seafood butcher from Casaliberry, Florida, says he relaxed a bit after getting vaccinated last year. He had a few friends over and saw his parents more while making sure to still mask up at places like grocery stores. The recent virus surge hasn't caused him to change his behavior much because he's vaccinated and has read that the variant causes less severe illnesses. And like many, Wilson has come to believe COVID-19 is probably never fully going away. It's becoming an epidemic and we'll be stuck with it forever, he says. It's frustrating, but what can you do about it? Many Americans agree that they're going to be stuck with it forever, and at least for a long time. A poll from the Associated Press and our NORC Center for Public Affairs research shows that just 15% say they'll consider the pandemic over only when COVID-19 is largely eliminated. By contrast, 83% say they feel the pandemic is over when it's largely a mild illness. The polls show that 59% of Americans think it's essential that they personally be vaccinated against COVID-19 to feel safe participating in public activities. But underscoring what authorities call alarmingly low COVID-19 vaccination rates in the US children ages 5 to 11, just 37% of parents consider it essential that their children are vaccinated before they return to normal. And although boosters provide significantly better protection against COVID-19, especially the Omicron variant, than a two-shot course of Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, just 47% of Americans think it's essential that they get one. Our next story. First, it was the paramedics testifying that the officers who restrained George Floyd didn't call in critical information as his ambulance rushed to the scene, where Floyd would soon be pronounced dead. Then it was a off-duty firefighter recounting her frustration that Floyd obviously needed help and wasn't getting it. Federal prosecutors building their cases against the three Minneapolis police officers on trial on charges accusing them of violating Floyd's civil rights turned Wednesday to a pair of witnesses who testified last year at Derek Chauvin's trial, in which he was convicted of state murder and manslaughter charges. Genevieve Henson, a Minneapolis firefighter who was on a walk when she came across Chauvin and officers, J. Alexander Kim, and Thomas Lang, and Tao Thao. Hansen said she could see Floyd's head being pressed onto the street under Chauvin's knee as other officers helped hold him down. It was just alarming the amount of people that were on top of one person not moving and handcuffed, said Henson, who said she is trained emergency medical technician. She acknowledged that she got louder and began swearing because Floyd needed help and he wasn't getting it. Cullen, Leon, and Thao are accused of depriving Floyd his civil rights while acting under government authority in the killing that triggered worldwide protests and a re-examination of racism and policing. Their trial resumed Thursday with more testimony. Chauvin pleaded guilty in December to federal civil rights charges. Hansen said she asked Thao, who kept bystanders from intervening, to check Floyd's pulse. Our next story. Oklahoma prepared to execute a man on Thursday for brutally slaying of two hotel workers during a robbery in 2001. Donald Anthony Grant, 46, is scheduled to receive a lethal injection at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAlester. He will be the first person executed in the U.S. this year and the third in Oklahoma since the state resumed lethal injections in October following a near 7-year hiatus. During a clemency hearing in November, Grant admitted killing Brenda McGilly and Felicia Suzette Smith so that there would be no witnesses to his robbery of the Delhi City Hotel. Courts records show both women were shot and stabbed, and Smith was also bludgeoned. Prosecutors say both women also begged Grant to spare their lives before he killed them. During November's hearing, Grant expressed deep, sincere remorse and apologizes for killing, but the State Pardon and Parole Board voted 4-1 against recommending clemency. I can't change that, Grant said, of the crime while speaking to the board. If I could, I would, but I can't change that. Two of Grant's attorneys, Susan Otto and Emma Rose, from the Federal Public Defender's Office, argued that he was mentally ill and has suffered brain damage that made him a candidate for mercy. Beaton and members of his family experienced alcoholism, drug addiction, and mental illness. Mercy is called for those Those in this case, Otto told the panel. It recognizes this man's mentally ill and brain damage is not just targeted of execution. But the board also heard from members of McGilsey's family who tearfully urged them to reject clemency for Grant. Our next story. Democrats stung by a series of election year failures due to delivery legislative wins for their most loyal voters may have been buoyed by the prospect of President Joe Biden will name the first Black woman to serve on the Supreme Court. Justice Stephen Breyer's pending retirement, confirmed by numerous sources on Wednesday, couldn't have come at a better time for the Democrat Party, reeling from a collapse of Biden's legislative agenda last week, including a push to overhaul election laws that voting rights advocates say was a critical to protecting democracy. As Democrats regroup with an eye on maintaining a tenuous grip on Congress after November's midterm election, the prospect of naming Breyer's replacement offered an opportunity to pause from those bruising battles. Seeing Biden's campaign pledge to appoint the first Black woman to the Supreme Court fulfilled Democrats' hope they can energize a dejected base, particularly Black voters whose support will be critical in the fall campaign. This is a huge opportunity for us, says Amy Allison, founder of She the People, a national organization that encourages women of color to vote. It turns out that appointing a Black woman to the Supreme Court at this moment could help to make up for the policies and political losses that we've seen recently. Among the names being circulated as political nominees are California Supreme Court Justice Leandra Cougar, U.S. Circuit Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, and prominent civil rights lawyer Sherilyn Infill, and U.S. District Judge Michelle Childs, whom Biden has nominated to be an appeals court judge. Now, a short break from the daily English news of Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Millennium News 24/7 Daily Local News Update. Our next story. He told his family and a few friends. He dropped hints to a couple of colleagues. So hardly anyone knew that the airline pilot should have been aboard when SpaceX launched its first tourist into orbit last year. Meet Kyle Hipchen, the real winner of the first of its kind sweepstakes, who gave his seat to his college roommate. Though Hipchin's secret is finally out, that doesn't make it any easy knowing he missed his chance to orbit the Earth because he exceeded the weight limit. He still hasn't watched Netflix series on the 3-day flight purchased by tech entrepreneur for himself and 3 guests last September. It hurt too much, he said. I'm insanely disappointed, but it is what it is. Hep Chin, 43, Florida-based captain of Delta regional carrier Endeavor Air, recently shared his story with Associated Press during his first visit to the NASA's Kennedy Space Center since he lost rocket ride. He opened up about his out-of-the-blue dream-come-true windfall and the letdown when he realized he topped the SpaceX weight restrictions of 250 pounds. And his offer to one person he knew would treasure the flight as much as himself. 4 months later, he figured probably fewer than 50 people know he was the actual winner. It was their show, and I didn't want to be distracting too much from what they were doing, said Hepchin, who watched the launch from a VIP balcony. His seat went to Chris Simbrowski, 42, a data engineer in Everett, Washington. The pair grew together starting in the late 1990s while attending Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Our next story of the hour. New York's Attorney General wants to put a stop to former President Donald Trump's attempted end run around a years-long civil investigation into his business practice, asking a judge Wednesday to dismiss his lawsuit aimed at halting the probe. Attorney General Letitia James argued in court papers that Trump's lawsuit, filed last month in federal court in upstate New York, is a sudden collateral attack on her investigation, designed in part to shield him from the recent subpoena. James, a Democrat, said there was no legal bias for Trump's lawsuit, no evidence to support the Republican claims that the probe is purely political. She also said there is no role for the federal court to intervene in an investigation that has been overseen in part by the state court judge. In a statement responding to Wednesday's court filing, Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, said, once again, Letitia James failed to address her arduous and unethical conduct in her weak response to our complaint. Before the subpoena, Trump and his company, the Trump Organization, complied with the investigations and never challenged the underlying legal bias of the investigation or the Attorney General's office legal authority to conduct it, James said in the court papers. James called claims in the lawsuit that her investigation wasn't lawful or justified a complete about face after Trump's previously agreed to turn over his 2014 and 2019 income taxes returns to her office, while his company provided more than 900,000 documents and testimonies from more than a dozen current and former employees. Our next story. A woman who said failed U.S. Senate candidate Roy Moore sexually touched her when she was 14 testified on Wednesday that she was glad people were seeing him for what he did to me, with allegations that upended his 2017 campaign. Lee Kaufman took the witness stand for the second day of the trial involving dueling defamation lawsuits that she and Moreau filed against each other in the wake of a sexual misconduct allegations. Kaufman testified earlier that Moore sexually touched her after he brought her to his home in 1979. Moore vehemently denied the accusations, but they overshadow a conservative Republican 2017 campaign as Moore ultimately fell in a stunning red state defeat to Doug Jones. the first Alabama Democrat elected to the Senate in 25 years. Republican Tommy Tuberville defeated Jones in the next election. Wednesday's testimony brought testy exchanges during cross-examinations from lawyers for Moore, who rose to prominence in state politicals after hanging a Ten Commandment plaque on the courtroom door wall. Moore also was twice elected and removed as Chief Justice of Alabama Supreme Court. Moore defends, which is trying to portray Kaufman as being motivated by fame or politics, questioned her about her text messages she sent around the time the Washington Post published her accounts and the accounts of other women who said Moore pursued romantic relationships with them when they were older teens. During questioning, an attorney for Moore read text that included Kaufman writing about starting a big old firestorm, about how she could now refer requests to more people, and about being included in the 2017 Time Magazine Person of the Year article about many women who came forward that year about sexual harassment and assault allegations. And now for our last story of the hour. An unrelievable water system in Mississippi capital city causes problems several times a year at Styles of Essence Hair Salon, where water services can suddenly get cut off as workers repair broken pipes nearby. Owner and stylist Belinda Smith keeps more than a dozen of jugs of water in a small shop South Jackson stash under sinks and along the base of walls painted with the slogan, Jesus is Lord. Even if water stops flowing from the city system, she needs to rinse chemicals off her customers' hair. I have been in here and they will turn off the water without letting me know, Smith said Wednesday. You don't want to get into a situation where you don't fill your bottles backups. Jackson has long-standingly expensive to fix problem with its aging water system, and the EPA issued a notice this week that the system violates the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act. The order directs the city to outline a plan to correct the significant deficiencies identified in the EPA report within 45 days. Like many older cities around the U.S., Jackson faces more water system problems that it can afford to fix. The tax base of Mississippi's capital has eroded over the past few decades as the population has decreased. The result of mostly white flight to suburbs that began after public schools integrated in the 1970s. The city's population is now more than 80% Black and about 25% of the residents living in poverty. After Arctic weather blanketed parts of the South last February, equipment froze in Jackson's water treatment plant. Few weeks, tens of thousands of people were left with no running water or water pressure that was dangerously low. The city ran distribution sites where people brought buckets to pick up water, to bathe, or flush toilets. The National Guard helped distribute cases of drinking water, and volunteers delivered bottled waters to people without access of transportations. And this was the daily local news update of Millennium News 24/7. Log in to get the latest news. All of our social networking sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, is Millennium News 24. Also, our YouTube channel is News Channel M24. Viewers now on both networking, broadcasting Androids, iOS devices, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, also all smart TV platforms. Please enjoy our entertainment and latest news and views. Our Millennium TV app, Millennium TV USA Android, and Millennium News Google, www.millenniumtv24.com. Stay with Millennium News 24, and thank you for watching.